So we'll just go ahead and go through this. You got yours already, the little handout here. I made blanks. I used to be a teacher, so I made blanks for you guys to fill out. Kind of the way that I do freezer meals is I do it once a year. My husband teaches at MOC. He coaches middle school football, so when school starts, it's kind of like he's gone from 7 to 5:30, and I'm like, I don't want to work on making a meal, so I just make a bunch of freezer meals, and then I can be like, oh, I'm feeling lazy today, just put this in the oven. So it works really well for that purpose, but I'm also on a pretty strict budget. We are Dave Ramsey people, and we just went through, we got married in 2010, we paid off $88,000, and we're debt free. Woo! Except for the house, but that doesn't count yet. So if you're Dave Ramsey, you know that that's not until a baby step later. So my title here is Freezer Meals for Busy Moms on a Budget, because I am on a budget. And so that is why my number one do is check grocery ads for meat deals. Meat is going to be the most expensive part. If you have a husband who hunts and you use deer meat, that's awesome. If you have a husband who's a farmer and you guys raise pigs or beef or whatever, that's awesome. Use that meat. But if you aren't like me and you live in town and you're like, I need a fair way to go get some deals for me, then do that. A lot of times they'll have those 10-pound tubes for sale, and those are awesome because you don't necessarily have to use a full pound. We are a family of my husband, me, and Cohen, who's now eating, but that's just our small kind of family. So if you have a larger family, then you just make more, but those are kind of nice because you can be like, I don't necessarily need a pound, but I'm just going to cut this much off and then do it that way. So check for meat deals. Plan around the seasons. I do mine in August. I also plant a garden, so it helps because you can use that stuff from your garden in there, but there's also a lot more fresh things in the summer to use in your freezer meals. So if you do that, you can save a lot more money planning around the seasons. Do use freezer bags or other freezer safe containers. I gave you all, hopefully you all got one, a little tin there. That tin I love. You get a 3-pack at Walmart for 94 cents. So it's really nice because if you take it out, you can see that there's a lid with it. Now one side, it's like a foil side. I always put that side down. I don't know if I'm supposed to or not, but that's the side that I always put down because the other side is, you can write on it. And so I actually stopped writing on it with Sharpie because it started to smell. So I wrote on stickers and then I put it on there. And so then when you're digging through your freezer, you know what's on it and you don't have to guess. Okay? Do trade freezer meals with friends. Okay? So you're in a freezer meal club, so how do you guys do it?
We make 3 different things, like 2 food things and one different, like I make the 6-week muffin mix.
Oh yeah.
And so then we go home with 12 things.
Yeah. So
We do
that
it once a month.
Yeah, that works really nice. I'm not as ambitious as to do it once a month. I do it once a year. And so I don't actually trade freezer meals with friends because I do it in mass. I make one meal, I'll make 10 of those little tin things, and I end up with like 50-something meals when I'm done with it because I'm ridiculous and I don't want to do it the rest of the year, and so I just do it all. But if you have friends that are like, hey, I'll make 6 of this one, and you can make 6 of this one, and you can trade, that's awesome. It works really well. I just haven't found any. I don't have any friends. So
You have friends who just not planning.
I have friends who plan. So if we go to the don'ts, don't go to the store without a plan. I always do write in my little notebook, this is the meal I'm going to make, this is what I need for it, I'm going to double this recipe, I need this, so make sure you have a plan. And don't overmake one meal. That can be your biggest mistake because you could be eating really bad enchiladas for the entire year. It was a bad year for them. They were not not good. And I'm like, we are not wasting them. I am way too Dutch to waste food, so it's not gonna happen. So if you know that you like it, like I know that we really like tater tot casserole, so I make a lot of them. But like the enchiladas, I'm like, we'll eat those 3 times. We don't really need that many of those ones. Okay. Don't thaw meat and refreeze. I have no idea why. Someone just told me that once. So I don't do it. Anybody know why? It's dangerous. It's just not good. It's just not good. I don't know why either. It's not good. Just don't do it. And don't stress out about it. If you have a husband who's willing to help you, that's awesome. We'll go through a meal that my husband helps me with, but it's really nice when they do. Or if your kids are old enough to help you, let them help you. Just kind of make it a fun day. Or if your friends want to come over and you just kind of want to all make it at one time, just make it. I kind of wanted to go through the recipes just because I'm kind of a haphazard kind of a cooker. That's why I can't bake. It doesn't happen. I cannot bake because I'm like, a little bit of that. But that's just kind of how I cook. So I kind of wanted to go through the freezer meal because mine are kind of random. I make non-tater tot casserole. Non-tater tot tater tot casserole. Because I don't put any tater tots in it. And someone's like, well, that's shepherd's pie. And I'm like, it is, but shepherd's pie makes me think of cow pie, and I don't want to eat that. So I call it non-tater tot tater tot casserole. So this is kind of my own recipe that I do. I do cauliflower and broccoli instead of the beans, and I don't do cream of anything. The only freezer meal that I use cream of anything in is my tuna noodle. And I didn't give you that recipe because it's really, I just kind of threw a bunch of stuff together. So this one I make the hamburger, and I cook the hamburger with onion because I don't really like the taste of hamburger. So I cook it with onion, and then it kind of gets rid of that yucky hamburger taste. And then I just kind of divide it out into those little pans. The nice thing about those little pans is if you do have a bigger family and you have picky people, you can be like, oh, well, this side of the family is having tater tot casserole, and this side of the family is having enchiladas or whatever. So you can split it. Or sometimes I'm like, well, we don't have any food in the house for me to have lunch tomorrow, so I'm going to make 2 of these, and then I can have leftovers for tomorrow. So they're a really nice size for that. Or if you put 2 together, it's a 9 by 13. They just store better in the freezer. So they're fun too. It is really cold in here. I don't know how to shake.
We just turned the heat up out here, so it'll get better.
Okay. So I kind of just throw those out. I just guess, to be honest. Like, it's really just kind of a crapshoot when I'm cooking. So just kind of, you can follow specific recipes, and there are a lot of freezer meal recipes on blogs and stuff. So if you just go online and Google freezer meal recipes, you can find a lot of recipes. So I didn't want to give you a ton of them. I kind of wanted to just give you the random ones that I did. So another one that I do is the ham balls. And the ham balls, I always make sure that either the ham loaf is on sale or the ground beef is on sale, and I try to get both, but Fairway usually doesn't do both. So if you buy it the last day of the sale, if you notice that on Tuesday it's on sale, hamburgers on sale and ham loaves on sale, go to the store and buy it because you need both of those, and they're both, the ham loaf is normally $3.49 a pound, but you can get it sometimes for $2.49 a pound. So just kind of pay attention to that. But yeah, it says ground ham, but it's ham loaf at Fairway. And then the way that I do that is I double the sauce. If you notice, I put directions. That's the directions from the actual recipe, and then I put this is how I do it. So I kind of, like I said, make up my own. So I double the meat in triple sauce, and the reason I do that is because when I divide it out, we just didn't have enough sauce for our ham balls, and I like the sauce, so it works. I mix the meats in a garbage bag, and the reason that I do that is because I double it. So if you look, that's 3.5 pounds of ham and 1.5 pounds of ground beef. But if you double it, it's 10 pounds of meat. So if you all have a big bowl to mix it in, more power to you, but I don't. So I get a garbage bag and I throw it in there and I knead it like bread. And then I make sure that it's mixed really well, because like I said, I don't really like the taste of the hamburger, and when you don't mix your ham balls really well, then the hamburger is not very good. So make sure you mix it really well, and then I just make it into the balls, and then I found that putting them straight into the bags, because I use the quart size bags for these and I freeze them 6 at a time. But if you put them into the bags without freezing them first, they squish and then they're not balls anymore when they come out. So I put them in a 9x13 on wax paper and then I let them just freeze for like 2 hours and then I take them out, throw 6 in the bag, dump the sauce in, and throw them back in the freezer. So they never unthaw, you just want to kind of do it fast. So that one that's a good one to have somebody help you with because the recipe that I looked at, that I see, it's Iowa hand balls is what the recipe is if you Google it. But it says it makes 15. That's a dirty lie. I make like 76 of these balls. It's ridiculous how many you get. And then you just put them in, if you freeze them flat, try to freeze them flat and then throw them in your freezer. It's awesome. Taco stuffed peppers. I kind of did one of each way, different type of container. So the taco casserole is that kind of container and the other casseroles that you want to do. The handballs are the quart size bags. The taco stuffed peppers I do in both pans because they're a little bit taller. And so I only do 3. I shove 3 in there, 3 of the peppers. And then I just throw them in there. And you can do any kind of pepper. It doesn't really matter what color it is. The green ones are always cheaper, so we usually do the green ones. Unless the other ones are on sale, we do those ones. But there's also different kinds of stuffed peppers. This year I'm going to try the pizza ones because, I don't know, it might be good. What do I know? Maggie Laverman, she's kind of the one that got this deal. She made me a bubble pizza once, and I'm like, I put bubble pizza and stuffed peppers, so I'm going to try that this year. I'll let you know. But really, you can put anything in there. And then this one's really easy because you just stuff it in and then cover it with foil and throw it in your freezer. So, chicken pot pie I would say is the hardest one, and it's kind of the most expensive one. I cheat and I buy pre-made pie crust because I'm just not going to do it. It's just easier not to. I have my husband grill the meat for me, which I think makes it that much better if you grill the meat. If you grill, that's awesome. I just don't grill because I don't want to use the charcoal grill. So he does it for me. So if you can grill those chicken, that's awesome. And then cut it up in little pieces and then throw it all in. And then I top it with the pie crust. I don't put it underneath because when I put it underneath, it gets soggy. And then it just didn't cook well. So it was kind of gross. So I just put it on top and I don't put one underneath. I put a little warning in there, this is what I do, it says warning, do not overfill the pan with the sauce, because things expand in the freezer and it's not fun to haul your deep freezer onto the lawn and spray it out. Not that I would know. But Dawn does take out. And to cook these ones, I don't know if you guys cook pie, but I just keep the foil on top of it, and then I cut a little circle leaving the edge so it doesn't burn. And then the middle part doesn't burn, and then just cook it just like it says up here, 425. Everything from my freezer, I put it straight from the freezer into the oven. I don't do any filling. I mean, I'm sure you probably should, but I don't because I don't think that far ahead. So most of them take from the freezer. Most of them take about an hour to an hour and a half, and they're all they're all cooked except for the hand balls already. Everything's cooked, so you're really just heating it up. The savory chicken I haven't tried, but there's this kind of, you guys, Pinterest. Everybody Pinterest, I'm sure. It's a thing to do these days. But a lot of things going around on Pinterest are the crock pot meals in the bags. And you just make a crock pot meal, put it in the bag and freeze it flat. Well, I haven't tried it yet, so this is the one that I put on here for everyone to try is the savory chicken. The problem with a lot of the ones that I'm finding, it's like, oh, well, put on top of a bed of rice or put on top of this. And I'm like, it's an extra step. Like, my freezing meal, just put it in, take it out, and eat it. So this one I thought was the easiest because I can just add broccoli and then I'm done. So that one's kind of the one that I'm going to try. So you have your little containers, your quart-size bags, your bread pans, your chicken pot pie, which I do in like just a tin. I mean, if you have 7 pie plates that you want to use in your freezer, you certainly can, but I just use the tin and then I throw them away afterwards. You can reuse them, I just don't, because we let the dog lick at them. And then he kind of destroys them. So we just don't reuse them. And then the savory chicken is in a gallon size bag, so the one that I gave you. So, do you guys have any questions?
Where's she?
What kind of time? What time is it?
You got about 10 minutes.
Okay. So does anybody have any questions about this?
Are there certain kinds of vegetables that you found that don't freeze as well, that work real great?
I get the freezer vegetables at Fairway, and then I just put them in, and I don't let them thaw. And especially with a chicken pot pie, I just kind of throw them all in. The carrots, I use fresh carrots. For some reason, I don't like the carrots from the Fairway. I feel like they're rubbery, so I get fresh carrots. But the rest of them, I just get the freezer, just the regular freezer ones.
What about celery, does that fly in too?
The celery, I get, obviously fresh because there's not freezer celery. Yeah, that's fine too. I mean, it's kind of like, because the chicken pot pie is the one you're talking about, I'm sure. It ends up being like a mushy, like stew. Basically, is kind of what it ends up being. So, yeah, and that one takes the most. Yeah, the chicken pot pie takes the most work because you have to make the sauce and do that stuff. And it takes the most vegetables too. So,
Is there a problem if you do let your vegetables thaw? I mean, is it kind of the same like meat? Will it go, like you shouldn't refreeze vegetables?
I've never heard
Or do you
that.
know? Okay.
And I don't know.
Okay.
We don't have air conditioning in our house, and I do this in August, so I'm sure that ours thaw a little bit, but we haven't had a problem with it. So,
Okay.
because it gets pretty hot in the kitchen. Yeah.
What are some of your favorite meals that you have on here, just like when we go to stuff?
I do, this year we did tuna noodle, and the stuffed peppers, the chicken pot pie, the tater tot casserole. I did cappuccini, so that's another one that you can do. I do oops lasagna. And I'll tell you why I call it oops lasagna. My mom makes bow tie lasagna, not like the regular, lasagna thing. She does lasagna, but she layers it with bow tie noodles instead. Well, I sort of just got lazy and threw it all into a pan and mixed it up and put it in, and I was like, oops, it's lasagna. So we call it oops. We call it oops lasagna. And I don't know why I have this aversion to meat, but I'm not a big meat eater, so if you have meat eaters in your family, that's fine, use meat, but I don't put hamburger in my lasagna, I put spinach, so that's a good way to get your kids to eat vegetables. Don't put a lot of spinach in there, because then it tastes the whole. But you can put hamburger in that, and it's fine if you put hamburger in it, it just doesn't, you just have meat in it, and that's fine. But it's kind of cheaper to not use the hamburger, so that's another way to save money. Is kind of be like, hey, we're having spinach tonight instead of hamburger. I don't think your husband's go for that. But mine does, because he doesn't have to make the food, so he doesn't complain. So, any other questions?
Do you freeze soups? Do you do any soups?
I have frozen soups before. I just don't like soup. So my husband, it's really handy for my husband because I'll just take it out and put it in the fridge and be like, hey, there's soup in the fridge, eat it. So that works really well if you get those, the Yoplait yogurt or the Bager yogurt containers. It works really well to freeze in those things because then you can just kind of put it in the sink and let it thaw for a bit and then keep it in the fridge, and then you can just kind of keep taking stuff out for lunches, or if you just want to eat soup, that works really well. And I just right on top of the lids. The only thing is that sometimes you get a little freezer burn with those yogurt meals, the yogurt containers, sorry. But I haven't found that it's that bad of a deal. I made a squash soup one time, and I'm pretty sure I threw it away 2 months ago, but I made it in 2011, so I just don't eat soup. So I'm like, I don't want to make it, I'm sick of it. That's another thing is that I made a chicken noodle soup and I made too much of it. And I was like, ugh, I just don't want to eat that stupid soup anymore. So that's the whole don't overmake the meals thing because, yeah. And you could do like, you can
You
try.
can bring it to our freezer.
To the
What?
mop's
To the
freezer.
mom's freezer.
If you make too much of a meal, ladies, just call Kathy and donate it to mops.
Just freeze it. Yeah, you're like,
My
oh,
family doesn't like this, but I bet yours will.
enchiladas 6 times in the last month, so you should. The enchiladas thing, like, I have a little preface about the enchiladas. I just haven't found a sauce that I like. So if you have a sauce that's good, I haven't found a sauce that I like for enchiladas. So that's why I have beef with the enchiladas because my sauce isn't good. So that's kind of my theory on food is if you don't like it, it's because it hasn't been prepared well. So because you can like anything as long as it's prepared well. So I just don't prepare enchiladas well, so I don't like them. So yeah. Any other questions?
What about baked goods? I mean, I know you said you don't bake often, but if you bake something and freeze it, is it gonna be dry and crumbly, or does it?
No, I wouldn't say dry and crumbly, because like I've made cookies before and then froze them. My mom would always make oatmeal cookie dough, and then she would make it into a log and then wrap it in wax paper and then wrap it in foil. And then she would cut little slices of it so you have fresh baked cookies. So that works really well if you have an addiction to a cookie dough or a vegan cookies. So that works really well, except for if you have a husband or kids like we were that would go in and slice up pieces of cookie dough. So we did that, but that works really well if you know you're like, oh, randomly somebody had a baby and you want to bring them cookies. That's a really good idea just to have those
Frozen
a
dough
log
instead of
frozen
the
dough.
sure.
Yeah. So a log works better than the cookie balls because it slides into the freezer better. So
Sure.
and the other thing is if you don't have freezer space, obviously don't make too many meals. We have a deep freeze. A freezer in the basement, like a fridge freezer in the basement and a freezer upstairs. So that's another reason why I can make a lot of freezer meals, is because I have that. So if you don't have a lot of freezer space, a good one to try is the trade with your friends, because then you only end up with like 6 freezer meals. And if you did it once a month, like she did, then you can have 6 new meals every month. So you do that.
Do you find after like a year that those freezer meals at like the year point are a little gnarly because they got
Yes.
a little bit of freezer burn?
Yep,
Okay.
yep, just like the soup.
Yeah.
Yep, knock it out.
Yeah.
So that's why, like I said, you just don't want to overmake it. So we started with ours in August. We had 54 meals when I started in August, and we're down to about 6. So
Okay.
I try to have all of them done before I do it again in August.
Okay.
So that's just kind of.
So you kind of use one of those meals a week kind of thing?
Kind of. I do a meal plan. I do every month. I start at the beginning of the month, and I'm on Google Calendar, but you can use it on any calendar. Google Calendar is really handy because my husband can see what's for dinner, and when I'm at work, he can be like, okay, well, this is what we're having for dinner. I'm going to start it. So I go through and I say, this is what we're gonna have, and if I know that it's a busy night, Monday night's my husband bowls, so we have about 30 minutes that we are together, so if he can just throw it in when he gets home from school, then we can have that, or if we know that it's like, we're just gonna be gone the whole day, then do a crock pot meal, that kind of thing, then I just put it on the calendar, so I guess I'm not that unorganized. So yeah. Probably like 2 or 3 a month, but it's not like once a week. But in the beginning it was once a week because I have 2 kids under 2 and I had a baby in August. So yeah, so when the school year first started, it was like, all right, we're having a freezer meal.
Do you find any certain things that don't freeze well? Like, I've heard that if you freeze something that has like cream of soup in it, it kind of like curdles or something in the freezer?
I do tuna noodle, and I put cream of celery and cream of mushroom in it, and it freezes fine.
Okay.
I do, when I'm cooking it, because it's not like a layered thing, tuna noodle's not layered, it's just kind of a mix. I mix it up, just kind of stir it up when I'm cooking it. So, and that's the other thing about cooking it, I'm sort of haphazard about that too. put it in the oven. If you have 2 hours, I cook it slower. I'll cook it at 325 for 2 hours. If I have an hour, I'll crank it up to 425. As long as you just kind of pay attention to it, like if it's something that you can stir, or if it's like the peppers, you can stir those, and you should, because the rice kind of gets crusty on the top if you don't cover it and cook them fast. So, and those you're just warming up too, because you've already cooked the meat, so you kind of just stir them up. So,
Cook your noodles ahead of time for tuna noodles?
yes,
Yeah.
yep, I always,
Okay, that's
no, and then, like I said, you stir it up and they don't get crusty. So, she's ready for some tuna noodle, aren't you?
2 more minutes, if anybody has one last question.
Alright, I have one more.
Yeah.
Do you, when you do the freezer meals, like with the ham balls, are they cooked already or do you put them
No,
in
the
raw?
ham balls are the only thing that I don't cook ahead of time. And I just, put them, they're raw when I put them in, and then, so that's why I kind of have to do it fast, and then put them in the freezer. And then those ones I usually cook, if I take them straight out of the freezer instead of the fridge, I'll cook those for an hour and a half.
Okay.
And then I do a meat thermometer with those to make sure they're cooked all. So, because if you cut them, you can kind of tell if they're cooked, but you can't really, because ham loaf is
Yeah.
pink, so you can't tell as well with ham loaf than as you can with peanut butter. So that's the only thing that I leave raw. So, but chicken definitely always cook before you put it in the freezer meal. So, yeah.
All right, well, thank you so much, Mandy.
No problem.